Hey, hey, Disney fans, planners, and reluctant visitors. I'm Becky, and this is Touring Plans Teaches. We're back from our summer break, and we've got episode 203 of Walt Disney World Touring Strategy. Today we're going to be talking all about standby wait time data. There's going to be lots of charts, we're going to be talking about lots of numbers, and this is all going to set us up to be able to tour the parks well, no matter the crowd level, no matter the time of day. We're going to take it all in at once. This is data that we haven't shared before on the blog or on YouTube, so we're getting into some fresh numbers, and I'm really excited about it. Let's start by looking at wait time data averaged across an entire park. So on this graph, we're going to see each of the 4 parks at Walt Disney World. What we're looking at here is the average standby wait for each of these parks, and this is over the entire past year. We're looking at August 1st, 2021 through the end of July, 2022. And we've also narrowed it down to just the peak hours. So we've talked about those peak hours before. Those are from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's when you're going to have the highest waits. We took all of our timed waits from our Lines app in the standby line for every park for that whole year from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. There are a lot of these waits. Over the past year, we've had almost 60,000 waits recorded. So we've got a lot of data here. And we can look and see which parks have higher average waits overall. This might inform how you're going to tour at these parks. We start at Magic Kingdom, where we have an average of 21.6 minutes per ride in the standby line during those peak hours. So no matter what ride you're choosing, obviously that's going to vary a little bit, but if we say pick any ride, you can expect to wait about 22 minutes in standby at the Magic Kingdom. That's not too bad. That means there are some big headliners with longer waits, but to balance that out, there are pretty many lower wait attractions as well. Things look even better if we go to Epcot. So at Epcot, that average wait during peak hours is 18 minutes. So we've got big headliners like Test Track and Remy and Frozen that are trending maybe over an hour, around an hour with their average wait. But we have a ton of attractions to balance that out at Epcot. We have Grand Fiesta Tour, which almost never has a wait, Journey into Imagination, The Seas, Livin' with the Land, plenty of options that have no wait so that average wait goes down. So Epcot has the lowest average wait park-wide. Then we flip over to Hollywood Studios, and the opposite is true. There, your average standby wait in the middle of the day on an average day is 35 minutes. This is the biggest out of any park, and that's because Hollywood Studios has a decent number of attractions, but almost all of them attract really big waits. So you have things like Rise of the Resistance and Slinky Dog Dash that are dragging this even further up. But then your second tier is Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster and Runaway Railway and Millennium Falcon, these attractions that still have pretty hefty waits, so we don't get as much balancing. That's really going to impact how we choose what to do and when at Hollywood Studios. Then we've got Animal Kingdom, and it's the last park we're covering, and it's one of the most interesting. You don't think of Animal Kingdom as a park where you're spending a ton of time in line, but the attractions that it does have tend to have higher waits. This is really heavily impacted by Flight of Passage. So overall, our park-wide average during those peak hours is 31 minutes in a standby line. Flight of Passage is easily over an hour, and it doesn't have many things to balance that out. The next tier is Navi River Journey and Kilimanjaro Safaris, which themselves have pretty hefty waits. And then, if you're looking for other attractions that don't have waits, you have Expedition Everest, still has decent waits throughout the day. Kali River Rapids, Dinosaur, maybe Triceratop Spin. There's not that many that have the low waits that can balance out those heavy hitters like Flight of Passage. So we can see how already our touring might be different from park to park just based on what we can expect an average standby wait to look like. But let's go a level deeper, because this only looks at those peak hours. Now we can split it out by park and then by time of day. And this might help us make decisions on things like when we would park hop, or when we would try to arrive early versus arrive late. So at the very top, we have Hollywood Studios. It has the highest peak wait times, and it has the highest wait times at any time of day, other than the evening when Animal Kingdom actually takes over. Super surprising data point there. I would have expected Hollywood Studios to stay on top no matter the time of day. Animal Kingdom, though, doesn't peak quite as high as Hollywood Studios, but then it keeps those elevated wait times later into the evening than Hollywood Studios does. And we'll talk about why that is a little bit later on. Next, we've got Epcot, which is the blue line. Epcot looks really, really weird compared to everything else because its peak wait times aren't its peak wait times. This is a little bit of an anomaly we get at the park-wide level, and once we get down to the attraction level, those peaks are going to make sense. But at Epcot especially, in the mornings, everyone is rushing to those headliners because there are only a few attractions that have the really heavy weights. And then there are a wide array of attractions that have lower weights, but no one's going to those in the morning. They're waiting until peak time to hit those. So you have a really large number of people waiting in decently long lines in the morning, and no one waiting in the non-existent lines. So your average wait time at Epcot in the morning is higher. And then it goes down during peak hours because people are starting to filter to living with the land or the seas or something similar. So Epcot's our outlier there. And then finally we have Magic Kingdom, which looks pretty normal. Its morning and its evening are pretty similar, and then you've got the peak average wait time that's higher. But like I said, we need to get a little bit deeper for this to be able to impact our touring strategies. So let's look at this graph. This one shows us all of the attractions that have an average peak wait of 30 minutes or more. So these are the attractions that you're going to want to plan your day around, whether that means using Genie Plus to skip the wait, or rope dropping them, or saving them for late at night, or finding a random dip in the wait time that you can take advantage of. These are the ones that you're going to care about and that are really going to be the anchors of your touring strategy throughout the day. So these are the important rides. There are only 2 of them at Animal Kingdom, but there aren't many attractions with lines at Animal Kingdom in general. Then we have 4 of them at Epcot, 5 of them at Magic Kingdom, and 6 of them at Hollywood Studios. So once again, Hollywood Studios is harder to plan around because you've got so many attractions with those long waits, including the big winner here. So on the top of our chart is Rise of the Resistance. Its average standby wait over the entire past year, so that includes really high level crowd days, really low crowd level days, is 74 minutes, well over an hour. You're going to be spending a lot of time in line for Rise of the Resistance if you don't buy an individual lightning lane for it. That's followed by Flight of Passage. So Flight of Passage is that big anchor for Animal Kingdom, that big wait that you're going to want to avoid. And then things go down from there. We've got Remy, we've got Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and then we see a bunch of that sort of second tier for Hollywood Studios. Another big surprise for me here was Millennium Falcon being so close to Slinky Dog Dash. Again, that comes from averaging over that whole year. But these are the things that you're going to want to plan around, and we're going to look at each of these attractions individually to see how their wait times shift throughout the day and how that might impact when we want to visit them. We're going to start by looking at our attractions for Animal Kingdom. Again, we're only looking at attractions that have those average peak wait times of 30 minutes or more, and there are only 2 of them at Animal Kingdom, so they should be pretty easy to plan around. First one is Flight of Passage. So this is the ride, all of Walt Disney World's second highest average peak wait time. So we can see sort of the trend throughout the day here. And I'm going to introduce you to the graph in general because we're going to be seeing 17 different versions of this graph, and then we'll talk about that shape for Flight of Passage. What you see here is every hour that the park could be open, and the dot is the average standby wait for this attraction during that hour. Each dot also comes with a little bar. That's the 95% confidence interval. So we're sampling wait times here. We're dependent on people timing them. And so that we think the average goes somewhere within that line. We're 95% confident that that dot would show up somewhere between that line. So if we have bigger bars, that means we're less confident. If we have really tiny bars, that means we're really confident where that average actually is. So we'll see varying levels of bars as we go through each of these charts, and I'll talk you through that. So now let's talk about sort of the shape that we see for flight of passage. And the shape is what's going to be important in each of these graphs. The actual individual numbers don't matter as much, but if you want an effective touring strategy, you want to find the dips, or where that shape goes really low. So at flight of passage, we actually see really quick increases first thing in the morning. If you're willing to get up early enough that you can get there before 8 a.m., you'll probably have less than a 40-minute wait. That's still pretty high though. And then it peaks around lunchtime, around an 80-minute standby wait at lunchtime. From that point on, it starts decreasing. So this is interesting. This is a phenomenon that's pretty unique to Animal Kingdom. People will go for a half day and then they'll go home, or they'll get ready to park hop. They're not getting in line for flight of passage right after lunch before they want to go something else. So we see that going down a little bit. But then at 2 o'clock, people are eligible to park hop, and so you get sort of this second wave of people coming to Animal Kingdom, and so you see an increase in demand for flight of passage again. Usually we see things just drop off into the evening, but flight of passage is a little unique. So once people park hop to Animal Kingdom, if they're going to do that, they tend to go to flight of passage. And so then only after dinner time does that wait time start to slack off again. So if you want to do flight of passage, you either have to get there first thing in the morning or wait really late at night. If you miss both of those, you can buy individual lightning lane, or you try to hit that dip right around when people are park hopping and aren't quite ready to commit to flight of passage. So that's a good little minimum that you can take advantage of. It's still a 50-minute wait at that minimum, but it won't be as bad as the 80 minutes. Let's compare this to Navi River Journey, which is the only other attraction in Animal Kingdom that has a 30-minute average wait or more. It has a little bit of a different curve. So it takes a little bit longer for things to peak at Navi River Journey. Your wait isn't going to be bad at 8 o'clock like it would be at Flight of Passage. And even at 9 o'clock, you're still less than 30 minutes. That's not too bad. We see much shorter little error bars on this chart. That's because the wait time doesn't fluctuate as much at Navi River Journey as it does at Flight of Passage. We see a little bit of the same behavior where we've got a dip right around that park hopping time. So again, if you can't do really early or really late, at Animal Kingdom, right around that park hopping time is a little bit of a sweet spot. People, for some reason, don't enjoy being at Animal Kingdom in the afternoon. They're either going to be there in the morning or the evening, so you can take advantage of that, or you can wait until really late at night. Now let's talk about Epcot. I mentioned that there were 4 attractions that have that high average wait, something above 30 minutes, but one of those was Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which technically doesn't have a standby queue right now. I included it because the average wait time after your boarding group gets called is still about 45 minutes. That's a pretty long wait, something that you need to take into account. But we don't have the lovely little graphs of how the standby time fluctuates because it's all dependent on how quickly boarding groups get called and if it goes down after people have been called. So we're not going to have a graph for Cosmic Rewind. We'll go through the 3 that we do have. The first is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. This has the highest average wait time during peak hours of any attraction at Epcot. A little bit weird, but it's a new attraction. People like pretending to be rats, I guess, or something. So this looks very different than our Animal Kingdom graphs. Instead of peaking early and then going down and having a little fluctuation throughout the day, Remy doesn't peak until about 3 p.m. It takes a long time for that line to build up and to have a significant wait. From that point, things get pretty erratic. So at 7 p.m. on Remy, this is one of the biggest error bars that you're going to see on any of these graphs. It frequently goes down in the early evening, so that impacts things. If it doesn't go down, average wait time will be really low by 7 p.m. If it does go down, that wait time is going to go higher because people then have a built-up line. A lot of people are going to want to ride it at the end of the day. But then as you get later into 8 p.m., 9 p.m., you're competing with Harmonious. People don't want to be in line for cues when they could be seeing that show. So really, if you don't care about Harmonious, then that late evening time is a great time to ride Remy. Otherwise, you just want to skew as early in the day as possible to take advantage of those increasing crowds. Next, we have Frozen Ever After. So we see a lot of similar behavior here compared to Remy, but to a lesser extent. The wait times here don't peak as high, and they're not as erratic. Frozen is a much more reliable attraction. It has a lot more uptime. We still get that increase to 3 p.m., but with a little dip right in the middle at 11 a.m. A lot of this is because young families enjoy riding Frozen. Young families also enjoy eating lunch at a reasonable time. So you'll see them not getting into a line. They'll start balking if they start seeing a 40, 50-minute posted wait right around 11 o'clock. So you can take advantage of that little dip, or again, you wait later until the evening when folks are waiting for Harmonious and not getting into lines. Our last attraction at Epcot that we're going to cover is Test Track. And this looks pretty different from the other two. Test Track is really flat, which is interesting. And also those error bars are small. So Test Track actually goes down very frequently. But when you average that out across the whole year, it means that it's down 10, 15% of the time, but it's reliably down 10 or 15% of the time. So those wait times average out throughout the day. It peaks pretty quickly, so most people that are going to rope drop Epcot are rope dropping from the main entrance and going to Test Track first. And so it's going to get those wait times higher quicker compared to a Frozen or a Remy where people have to sort of filter through after they get done with Future World. But then it's going to stay steady through most of the day. Unless something crazy happens, it closes because of storms and then everyone rushes it. But then once again it goes down. It doesn't have as much of a dip in the evening as Frozen or Remy because some folks like to stay in Future World. They don't care about Harmonious and they're taking advantage of the rides, but they're not going to ride the attractions that are in the World Showcase because if they're over there, they want to watch Harmonious. So you don't see that dip at Test Track, so it's harder to time this one unless you get there really, really early or you get in line right before the park closes. Next, we're going to talk about Magic Kingdom, and we have 5 attractions to cover here. We're going to start moving more quickly, though, because I think you get the idea of how to follow the shape, and you want to find dips or places that it's low on either end, and that's when you're going to want to go to those attractions specifically. Our attraction with the highest weights at Magic Kingdom is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and it also has a pretty weird shape to it. It peaks very early. People are trying to rope drop it. They want to get to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So even if you get there within that 8 a.m. hour, you're still going to have a 30-minute wait or more. You're actually going to be pretty lucky if you can get a 30-minute wait. But then by 11 a.m. that jumps up to almost an hour. Interestingly, though, from that point, things kind of slack off. So this is a pretty rare demand curve for an attraction when it peaks so early and then it just slacks off the rest of the day. We're not going to see that same behavior at any other attraction in Magic Kingdom. So if you can just hold on to your excitement for a little while and wait to go to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, even in that sort of 7 p.m. hour before fireworks, that's a really good time, and you already have lower waits at 7 p.m. than you would have if you rope dropped it right when the park opened. So Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, a really good case for just holding off and waiting until later in the evening. Next we have Jungle Cruise, another really weird shape. People know that Jungle Cruise has pretty miserable waits, and it's not a great line to wait in. It's pretty hot, it's pretty stuffy in the middle of Adventureland. So people will rope drop it, they'll try to get there as early as they can, and so it peaks for the first time around 11 a.m., and then no one wants to be in that line in the middle of the day. So you get this dip in the middle of the day. It peaks again at 5 p.m. because people think, well, I need to ride Jungle Cruise, I haven't done it yet, and things are starting to get cooler, so probably it's a good time to head there. So Jungle Cruise sees its biggest peak of the day right around 5 p.m., 5, 6 p.m. So don't go to the Jungle Cruise if it's approximately dinner time. Either do it in the middle of the day or really late in the day. Not a great attraction to do in the dark, though, so I'd suggest moving it earlier in the day if you can. Next, we've got Peter Pan's Flight. So this one looks eerily similar to Test Track, other than at the end of the day. Peter Pan's Flight is a very popular attraction, but a lot of people don't want to wait a huge amount of time for it. So it sort of has this natural balk point where people will see the line and just not get in it. And so it stays pretty steady throughout the middle of the day as long as it doesn't go down. So you see it peaking quickly like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but then it just stays there until you get past dinner time. The young families go home. People are trying to get in other attractions before fireworks. You get a pretty steep dip right at 7 p.m. And maybe you can again wait to do this one, do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, then hop to Peter Pan's Flight before you look at the fireworks in Magic Kingdom. Then we have Space Mountain. So this is another one, the crowds don't get to it quite as quickly. People don't tend to rope drop Tomorrowland like they do Fantasyland. Fantasyland's more popular than Tomorrowland earlier in the morning. So it'll peak around 11, and then it stays decently steady, but tends to decrease throughout the rest of the day. So you could rope drop Space Mountain and avoid a lot of those waits, or you could wait until later in the evening and then things are pretty manageable. But at Space Mountain, you're tending not to get those really, really ugly waits that you want to avoid. So I wouldn't plan my entire day around this one. Then finally, we have Splash Mountain. Now, Splash Mountain's an interesting case because there's a lot more demand for it on hot and sunny days, not so much on cool and cloudy days. So this is going to look a lot different, mostly based on weather more than anything else. But you also see that people aren't getting to Splash Mountain early in the day. They don't want to start their day off really wet and then sop throughout the rest of their day. So it peaks for the first time around 12 p.m. and then sort of slacks off again. And especially around that 4 p.m., people don't want to get soaked and then go to dinner, so they're not getting in line. But at 5 p.m., it jumps back up a little bit and then is fine later in the day. So this is another one if you can hit that late afternoon little dip, or try to do it early before everyone else wants to get wet, or late at night. Those are the good times for Splash Mountain. Now let's talk about Hollywood Studios. We have 6 different graphs to look at here, but they actually all have a pretty similar shape and a shape that sets them apart from the rest of the parks. And this is going to be really key for how we want to tour Hollywood Studios. So first, we have Rise the Resistance. Rise the Resistance is pretty erratic in its wait times, so we've got those big error bars again. And they're even bigger than they look because our scale goes all the way up to 100 minutes here. So we have pretty varying wait times. But it peaks really, really early. So even at 8 a.m., if you can get in the parks before 9 a.m., you're still going to be waiting about an hour in standby for Rise of the Resistance. It then peaks at almost 90 minutes at 11 a.m. But then it goes down pretty sharply the rest of the day and never has that sort of second peak. Again, we saw something similar to this in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, where this is an attraction where people know that they want to ride it. Oftentimes, this is the attraction they came to the park for, so they're trying to do it early. That's often a good idea for Rise of the Resistance because it does have a lot of downtime, but as it gets more reliable, if you can wait until later in the day, you're going to have better wait times the later you wait in the day. So especially if you can do 7 p.m. or later at Rise of the Resistance, your waits are going to be lower than even if you could rope drop it during early entry. So we're going to see this same sort of slope off pretty regularly at Hollywood Studios. And what does that mean? It means that we want to do a lot of our touring at Hollywood Studios in the afternoon and evening. This is why it's a good park to do Genie Plus stacking for, or to hop to after you've been at another park. We see it again at Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. So this looks almost like the exact same shape, just shorter, because it doesn't have quite as much demand, but it peaks really early. It has those early high wait times and then steadily decreases throughout the day. So the more patient you can be, the less of a wait you're going to have at Millennium Falcon. Interestingly, Slinky Dog Dash exhibits a lot of the same behavior. It does stay pretty steadily higher for a longer period of time compared to other attractions at Hollywood Studios. So we see it peak at 10 a.m., but then it stays pretty close to that peak for quite a few hours before then tailing off into the evening. So eventually we're going to run into a case where we can't stuff all of these attractions after 7 o'clock. We're going to have to make some decisions about what we do when. But we see a pretty repeatable pattern that if we can wait for anything until after 7, we're going to have those lower waits. Runaway Railway, very similar. Our error bars here for Runaway Railway are almost invisible. That's because it's an incredibly reliable attraction and it eats a lot of people. It can keep up with a lot of demand. We'll still have high wait times because there's a lot of people that want to ride it. They're attracted to it, but it can get through those people relatively quickly. So again, it's going to peak at 10. It'll stay at that peak for a little bit, and then it'll go down. This is why early entry is incredibly important in Hollywood studios. You have to take advantage of those low morning wait times before they increase rapidly. Most other parks, we're not seeing peaks until 11, 12, 1, but at Hollywood studios, they're almost always around that 10 a.m. hour, and then they slack off. So if you can get there early and get things done before that peak, that's great. Otherwise, you wait until the evening and take advantage of those lower wait times. Here we see Rock and Roller Coaster. Its peak is later than the other ones, and that's because everyone rushes to Toy Story Land or Batuu, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge area, and they sort of ignore the things on Hollywood Boulevard. So another thing that you can take advantage of if you're planning your day to avoid the crowds. It doesn't peak until 2 p.m., actually, but you get that sort of initial peak at 11 a.m. So if you can make it there earlier, then you're going to avoid those waits. Finally, we have Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror is interesting. Keep in mind, this is a full year of data. For a lot of the late spring, early summer, there was a stealthy half refurbishment of Tower of Terror, and so these wait times during that time period were much, much higher because half of its capacity was lost. But again, we can see that early peak, and then it goes down pretty steadily, although you get a sneaky dip around 2 p.m. if you want to take advantage of that. Now, we've looked a lot of these averages, and they're whole year averages. It doesn't matter the crowd level, anything like that. But crowd level is important, and so I'm just going to cover this briefly to tell you why having something like touring plans is important, to take into consideration all of the weird little quirks that come with crowd level and different days and behavior shifts, because we can make some decisions about strategy based on those overall shapes that we were talking about. But sometimes we need even more data. Now, these graphs are going to be overwhelming. They're going to be pretty tiny. Again, we're paying attention to shapes. And in this case, we're paying attention to the red lines. That's the predicted actual wait time throughout the day. So we want to pay attention to those red lines more than anything else. And this is just to show the impact of a crowd level on that shape. So on this first slide, we have Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. 2 back-to-back days, January 24th, January 25th, 2022. January 24th was a crowd level 10 day, January 25th was a crowd level 1 day, and the park closed early at 4 p.m. And so the shape of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, we saw its average, was very different on these 2 days. And so we could take these two and make an average of them along with all the other days in a year. But it's important to know that depending on park hours, depending on crowd level, the shape could change pretty wildly. And so that's going to have an impact on when you decide to go to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. One more example on the other end of the spectrum at Magic Kingdom. Same days, different attraction, Mad Tea Party this time. We can see that it has a different shape each of these days. The crowd level 1 day is essentially a flat line, which makes sense. You're not going to have a wait for Mad Tea Party on a crowd level 1 day. But no matter the attraction, that shape is going to change based on a variety of factors. So that's why you need something like a touring plan or the Lines app to help you get real-time information about these shapes so that you can take advantage of the low lines when they occur. Congratulations, you've made it through all of the charts. You are all experts now in wait time shapes, at least. We're going to use all of this information starting next week to talk about actual touring strategies. Some of those will be regular rope drop, some of those will be afternoons and evenings after you park hop. So join me next week for the first of those strategies, and you'll be a Walt Disney World pro by the time you take your next vacation.